Welcome to this explainer of our source material. Today, we're stepping into the high-stakes, intensely creative world of corporate distress. We're looking at a landscape where liability management exercises are no longer just, standard legal paperwork. Instead, they've really become this arena for tactical maneuvering and, frankly, mathematical devastation. We're going to explore a restructuring tactic that is completely reshaping how distressed debt investors approach troubled companies.
It sounds like straight-up alchemy, doesn't it? But this is the central paradox we're going to unpack today. How does a sophisticated creditor invest just one single dollar of new money, but legally demand two separate seats at the restructuring table if that company goes bankrupt? It's a highly engineered, totally legal maneuver, and it is absolutely changing the rules of corporate survival.
So here is our roadmap for today. We'll start with the double dip phenomenon, then move to the step-by-step blueprint. Dig into the dilution mathematics. Look at organic versus manufactured structures, and finally, talk about surviving the modern era. Section 1, the double dip phenomenon, splitting the single dollar. Let's define exactly what this restructuring tactic entails. A double dip is, well, exactly what it sounds like. It's a transaction structure where a creditor establishes two independent, legally allowed claims against a debtor for just one single economic investment. This effectively multiplies their claim size out of thin air. Now, the absolutely crucial point here is that this allows a participating creditor to potentially double their recovery upon the company filing for bankruptcy, especially relative to other similarly situated pari passu creditors. But keep in mind, the total dollar recovery for a double-dip creditor remains strictly capped at payment in full, meaning par value plus any accrued interest or applicable make-wholes. So you can't get more than you're actually owed, but you can definitely grab a much bigger slice of the pie on your way there. We all know that double-dipping your chips at a party is a major social faux pas. But in the world of distressed debt, it's a highly elegant, purely mathematical weapon. Aggressive investors absolutely love it because it allows them to maximize their downside protection in a really creative way. Section 2, step-by-step, the blueprint, engineering the trap. All right, let's break down the 4 exact steps to actually spin this up. Step 1. The company creates a brand new subsidiary shell, often a non-guarantor restricted subsidiary, or even an unrestricted subsidiary in a place like the Cayman Islands. We'll just call it SubCo. Step 2. The new money investors lend their cash directly into this new SubCo. Now here is where the magic happens. Step 3 is the first dip. The parent company, which is where the actual enterprise value and core assets live, provides a direct secured guarantee to that new SubCo debt. Then, step 4, the second dip, SubCo immediately upstreams that cash right back to the parent company in the form of an intercompany loan. The parent company issues an intercompany loan receivable back to SubCo, and that receivable is then pledged to the SubCo creditors as security. To really wrap our heads around this, let's trace these steps in a real-world scenario, specifically looking at a proposed structure for the company LYCR. You've got the new note holders who get dip number 1, that's the direct claim via a guarantee from the top. But then if you follow the flow of funds, the money moves into a special purpose vehicle, which passes the proceeds on, creating a secondary claim based on secured assets. In this specific case, it was trademarks. It forms this perfect closed loop that establishes 2 entirely separate legal paths, right back to the parent company's value. Section 3, the dilution mathematics, waterfall devastation. Okay, let's get into the math because this is where it gets crazy. Let's set up some baseline assumptions. Imagine a distressed company with $240 million in total distributable value. They currently have $200 million of pre-existing first-lien term loan debt. Now, they need $200 million in new money. In scenario A, which is your standard single dip, we have $400 million in total claims chasing that $240 million in value. That works out to a clean 60% recovery for everyone. Both the legacy lenders and the new lenders walk away with $120 million. Simple, right? But what happens in scenario B, the manufactured double dip? Total claims magically swell to $600 million simply because that new money gets counted twice. Let's break down exactly what that does to the pro rata shares. Out of the $600 million in total claims, the pre-existing legacy lenders only hold $200 million, so their pro rata share of the bankruptcy estate drops to just 33.3%. This means their cash recovery plummets to $80 million. That is just a 40% recovery. Meanwhile, the double-dip note holders hold a $200 million direct guarantee claim and a $200 million indirect intercompany loan claim that now commands 66.6% of the estate. Their cash recovery? A massive $160 million, or an 80% effective recovery. $160 million. I really want to hammer this brutal reality home.
The new note holders magically walk away with exactly double the cash of the original lenders, $160 million compared to $80 million. And remember, both groups advance the exact same face value of debt, $200 million. By simply structuring their loan to create two legally allowed claims, the new money actively and aggressively dilutes the legacy lenders. This is the incredible power of the math.
Section 4, Organic versus Manufactured. The era transition. So how did we get here? Historically, this tactic has evolved in 3 distinct phases. Phase 1 was the era of organic double dips, think Lehman Brothers. These weren't actually planned, they were happy accidents discovered in massive, complex cross-border structures by distressed debt analysts who were hunting for value like dogs hunting for truffles. Then Phase 2 shifted us into the modern era, manufactured double dips. Starting with companies like At Home Group, sponsors began deliberately engineering these structures purely to raise new money. And that brings us to Phase 3, which is where we are now. Defensive exchanges, like Wheel Pros, where existing creditors actually use double dips on themselves just to fend off other aggressive restructuring tactics.
Section 5. Surviving the Modern Era. Credit Agreement Defense.
If you are an analyst trying to protect a portfolio today, you literally have to live in the credit agreements. A double dip requires 3 very specific things to be permitted simultaneously. You need the capacity to issue debt at a subsidiary, the capacity for the parent to secure a guarantee, and the capacity to make a secured intercompany loan. If an agreement lacks tight constraints on those baskets, or if it lacks J-Crew or Envision blockers, which restrict moving assets to unrestricted subsidiaries, well, the door is wide open for a massive value heist.
But, the market is finally fighting back. Enter the double dip blocker provision, also known in the industry as at-home protection. This is a direct, targeted response to these tactics. It's a provision explicitly designed to require that any debt owed by a borrower to a non-guarantor subsidiary must be completely subordinated. By forcing that intercompany loan to the absolute back of the line, it entirely neutralizes that second dip.
Which brings us to our ultimate takeaway for today. In the modern era of corporate credit, understanding the mathematics of dilution isn't just an edge anymore, it is absolute survival. The old rules of standard pari passu lending are being rewritten in real time by creative financial engineering. So I'll leave you with this provocative question to chew on. Do you truly know what vulnerabilities are hiding in the fine print of your own debt documents right now? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer of our source material, and keep your eyes on the fine print.